I have seen all the shit that has happened over the past few years with feminism and liberalism, and it is making me sad. Women are celebrated, while men I feel are just ignored and mocked on occasion. Was that the wrong word, Art? Will this get any better? Will men ever be celebrated like women are now? Sorry, but I am only 15 and I'm worried about my own future. Thanks. I'm sure there are a good number of men that have had to deal with this, unfortunately. It's a sensitive topic, so I'd prefer to keep the conversation mature, civil and respectful. Has anyone found cease and desist letters to be effective? Don't have money for a court case, but I'm not sure what to do. If you have experienced it, you know. Someone starts a rumor and person perpetuating and pushing on social media isn't even claiming to be the victim. Once again, please no rudeness or trolling. I'm too drained to fight commenters on Reddit. Thank you. Least masculine society in human history decides masculinity is a growing threat. US. As society becomes increasingly dominated by nerds, hipsters, and computer programmers, people have fixated on what they think is our biggest problem, masculinity. It's just toxic and causes nothing but problems, said Elisha McEwen, a vegan activist and no threat whatsoever to spiders or tight jarlids. I was sharing my feelings on masculinity with other men in my drum circle, and we all agreed that if we ever encountered masculinity, we would run far away. Masculinity is said to have in the past been the cause of such things as violence, war, bullying, defeating the Nazis, carving society out of untamed wilderness, and landing men on the moon, but now masculinity is being driven out of society to make sure nothing like those things ever happens again. However, there are reports that masculinity still lurks out there, which is a source of anxiety to modern men and causes them to have upset tummies. I am just so worried that somewhere out there someone is still knowingly producing testosterone, said Wyatt Lockhart, a Twitch streamer who had never thrown a punch outside of a video game. I constantly have to find a safe place to calm down just thinking about it. Duke Miller, a Marine sergeant and one of the few remaining examples of traditional masculinity, was asked about his feelings on the negative view of masculinity, but he seemed confused by the word feelings and then punched out an elk just because. Okay, so I really want another baby, but my boyfriend is very undecided, so my question is, are these holes too noticeable? I mean, I circled them and it is zoomed, but I am going to try and make sure it's dark when we have sex. Equal Pay Day 2019. The wage gap is bigger than you've heard. Feminists now claiming a 49% gender pay gap, by including people who don't work. Women are more likely to stay at home, pulling down average earnings for all women. Idiocy. On how to make good gender equivalency, I'm often annoyed by people who try to make gender equivalency or comparisons, because most of the time, it completely missed the gender dynamic that is going on. For example, I often hear it said that men don't experience street harassment. But I would contest that it is completely false, because it is a misunderstanding of what is the male equivalent. Sure, most men don't receive lecherous looks, or get whistled at, even though it happens, not all, etc. The thing is that people are trying to look at what happens to women and apply it directly to men. It's like saying that the overwhelming majority of ovarian cancers happen to women. Duh, no shit. The gender dynamics of street harassment, for what it is worth, is linked to the idea that men are supposed to pursue women and make the first step. Therefore, abuse of that dynamic towards women is women being perceived as more sexually receptive than they actually are, getting wolf whistled, and the like. But for men, the equivalent is to be perceived as more sexually perceptive than they are. That is, being treated as predators, having people change sidewalk, having the woman being afraid of you for nothing, or being disgusted because you looked her way, and basically being treated as if you are a shitstin or a dangerous rapist. The thing is, the negative aspects of that happens to women, happens mostly to high status women, and everyone is ready to jump to help high status women. But the part that happens to men targets low status men, and we all know just how much society cares about those. Same for the gendered insults online. We hear things like men don't get sexual insults, but that's false. Once again, women who are liberal in giving access to sex are seen badly, so people call women sluts to upset them. But men who get plenty of access of sex aren't viewed badly. So the sex-specific equivalent for men would be virgin. Those are the real equivalents, because the gender dynamics are different, the equivalences need adjustments. There are probably many other fields where people generally fail at making proper equivalences. And it always bugs me. Anyway, does what I say make sense? I'm relatively confident that it has to have been pointed out by many before me. Do you have other examples of bad false equivalences that are often missed due to different gender dynamics? I just need to vent and complain. I need some support. I've been paying child support for 9 years, 9 more to go, $467 a month for one child to lady I had a stupid drunken hookup with when I was 25. She vanished until a bit over a year later when I got paperwork saying you're a father. DNA test came back positive and I started paying my dues. I've never gotten to meet my kid. I don't know anything about them. It sucks. She moves around a lot and I gave up trying to pin her down after a few years. I work an unfulfilling job that pays okay, but I feel so depressed and guilty over everything. I'm on antidepressants and have other medical issues. I have ongoing fears about if I ever lost my job that I'd fall behind and end up in jail. Does it ever get better? Does the guilt and depression go away? Did I ruin my life and his kids? She's never going to have a good father figure. I am high school age. I haven't been to school in a year because of depression, and many people I know have been going through similar issues, maybe not as severely as me though thankfully, and when I try to talk about it people automatically see it as me attention seeking or I should just suck it up and get back to school, and it's the worst feeling ever having someone not believe you. But when my ex-girlfriend told people she was depressed everyone went out of their way to help her. I feel like I'm being taken seriously because I'm a dude. Last night at work I was bartending and this girl asked me to stop flirting with her boyfriend and I looked her dead in the eye and said, "I don't want your man, I just want his money," and this chick stares back and just says, "Same." Hundreds of Spanish women walk over men in nude photo shoot to demonstrate female empowerment. Men are going gold these days and it is a well-deserved thing. It is time the ladies worked 70 to 80 hours a week, while the ladies support us for a few generations. They can die early and give men half during a divorce. While we are at it, I firmly believe women need to get some skin in the game during wars. American sons shouldn't be the only ones good enough to be sent into the meat grinder of combat. A few million of our daughters need a military funeral, so there's some parity. You ladies can have the stress while we kick back so you can support us for a change. Now all the people that justify her have made themselves recognizable as complete hypocrites. We should rejoice for having a better understanding of how people truly are. Furthermore, reasonable people do not listen to that crap to begin with. Activists must stop harassing scientists. Insiders say white male scientists are particularly targeted, especially if their work disproves any aspect of feminist ideology. Male criminality. Has it never actually occurred to anyone that the reason men are more often robbers, thieves, and criminals is because they are more pressured to do so? There is no one they can lean on. Women, especially attractive, can be sheltered by men, and women with children can go on food stamps and other government social programs. Men do not have this option. The overwhelming majority of female criminals are unattractive and desperate, so they commit crimes for the same reason a man does: no other options and no one else to do it for her. The Barbie bandit so popular in the movies would only be committed by a woman who actually enjoys the excitement of it and not for desperation reasons. She could easily be provided for by someone law-abiding citizen or criminal. Are women truly more moral and righteous for the lack of criminality, or are they simply not in the same position men are in? Generation of men die in World War I. Woman get vote. Women become majority electorate. Woman institute welfare state. Men pay most taxes over lifetime. Men's taxes support welfare state. Welfare state supports single mothers. Single mothers raise criminals and drug addicts. Spiking crime and druggies. Men die in World War II. Feminism kicks in. Women demand no-fault divorce. State becomes husband. Divorce rates rise. Men still pay most taxes. Women receive most tax benefits. Men taxes supporting single mothers and nanny state. Women demand more. Women vote open borders. Women vote diversity quotas. Woman vote anti-male pro-women legislation. All supported by men's taxes. Women can't stop themselves. Infrastructure decays. Education decays. Healthcare decays. Economy decays. Relationships decay. Women double down on feminism. Men lose incentive to support system. Men say fuck off to society. Women shame blame men for this. Men don't care. Shit society burns out. Men rebuild. Lessons learned. UK man falsely accused of raping 2 women has his prosecution stopped because both women were found to have falsified statements and withheld evidence proving the man's innocence. Same old story. Toxic masculinity does not exist. The term toxic masculinity is wrong because it suggests that a trait primarily attributed to men is potentially toxic. A few examples of toxic masculinity include harassment, violence, and not expressing emotion. The problem is that these are not traits, these are expressions or behaviors that can be displayed by either gender in their own way. Masculinity encompasses both behaviors and traits. It is defined as qualities or attributes that are regarded as characteristics of men. Toxic masculinity should more appropriately be termed toxic expressions of masculinity because there is a distinct difference between toxic masculine traits and toxic people who are male. I am fighting against this toxic term. Help me by sharing the full blog post www.the-confident-man.com/toxic-masculinity. Woman throws boiling oil on husband. There is no law to protect men from domestic violence in India. Women have multiple laws like 498A and Domestic Violence Act, which are most oftentimes misused for extortion. Is there any duty to have sex in a committed monogamous relationship? I saw in some definitions of abuse that threatening to leave a relationship to get sex was considered abusive rape. So my question is, if you are in a committed monogamous relationship that wasn't asexual, is it legitimate to give up on sex while having no intention to leave the relationship? If the partner then cheat, it is viewed as bad and breaking the relationship. If the partner say we don't have sex anymore, and that won't do for me, so unless it changes, I'm going to leave, that can be construed as pressuring into getting non-consensual sex. So the only options are to either leave without warning, or stay and give up on ever having sex. Basically, 2 questions. Should there be any duty to have sex in a relationship, regardless of whether threatening to leave a relationship to get sex should be considered abusive? Edit for clarification. Duty as in to be a good partner. You should not deprive your partner of sex. Doesn't considering threatening to leave a relationship to get sex to be abusive prevent people from discussing their sexual needs and negotiating on how to meet them? Cardi B rape victim? This is true, right? Bad enough drugging and robbing men. And we all know if a male celebrity admitted this, sexual assault would just be assumed by the media. With Cardi B, you literally have a victim coming forward and no one giving a flying fuck. I've had consensual sex and regretted it later. I thought I wanted to do it. Made a mistake. Wasn't rape at all. No, if you reject it then you did not fully 100% consent and that is rape. You may not want to admit you were raped because it's very traumatic, but you were raped.